2016, here we are. A snowball effect will occur, causing massive panic throughout the system. Can they kick the can down the road a little while longer? Yes, absolutely. In doing so, they prolong the inevitable. They distort the markets further. They cause a disruption that makes it impossible to have any way to escape this madness. A successful mission perpetrated by the technocratic elite. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, let's get into some charts showing you that 2016 not going to smell too good. Let's look at China first. The China manufacturing PMI, okay? Let's look at their manufacturing index all throughout 2015, essentially, down in the negatives. This right here, I believe, is a major indicator, not just of China's economy, but of the global economy as well. If they're the manufacturing base for the entire globe, essentially, what happens when their manufacturing index is down? Well, obviously not as many people want to buy things. That's what it shows you. And of course, what does that do to the Chinese economy? It takes a hit upon them. These are things that doesn't happen overnight. For example, if the PMI was down all of a sudden tomorrow, does that mean it's going to affect the economy the day after? No, it may take months for this to have that snowball effect. It's happening right now, and it's been month after month after month where it has been sitting in the negative. And I do believe this will continue throughout 2016. Surely they can bring this up with another round of QE, or I should say increased amount of QE, buy up the stock market. But ultimately, in real terms, not going to be pretty. This is basically talking about state pension funds and retiree health care plans. And you can see the different states and how they are affected by this, the percentages, and, look at it for yourself if you want to. All I'm trying to cover with this is that in terms of pensions in particular, the government absolutely cannot afford to pay what they've promised to. This is a major catastrophe, and it is looming overhead. We are not at the point where we're sort of redlining. We've gone actually beyond that, far beyond that. It is now at a catastrophic level, and this is going to bring them down on the state level, the city level. You're looking at this problem all throughout the country itself. Everything is off the books, off the balance sheets, but that has to basically come back around at some point. In what way? Well, you tell me. It's not going to be pretty. Earning less. Corporate profits adjusted for inventory valuation and capital consumption annual change down significantly throughout the third quarter 2015. This is out of the Wall Street Journal, essentially heading back into that territory experienced during the recession. Now, we'll have to keep an eye on this figure here as it is just the beginning, but corporate profits are everything to this system. They will fire as many people as it takes. Any corporation will fire as many people as they can just to increase corporate profits. They'll do anything. They'll take their jobs, ship them overseas. They will do absolutely anything that they can. And here we are in a decline. So expect layoffs. Expect things to be drastic right now at this time and throughout 2016. Extra credit. U.S. households borrowing were basically flat in the second quarter. Auto lending topped the 1 trillion mark for the first time. People are borrowing more now because they don't have savings. How do we know that? Because we're looking at those statistics. This is out of the Wall Street Journal. But essentially, people are more poor now than they ever have been. Yes, there is a growing divide where we have the super wealthy people who are buying mansions and they're buying condos in Manhattan for over $100 million. We've seen that, but ultimately the average person is becoming more poor, something that I do cover on almost all my videos. And look at this student debt, becoming one of the biggest bubbles ever in history. Student debt, $1.2 trillion, never to be paid back again. And many are hoping for a debt jubilee in this instance, but don't hope for that, I assure you. Let's look at this, the money GPS hot point. As we look throughout my book, we see mortgages with a variable rate of interest will present a big problem in the near future. A significant percentage of people have been buying their homes with a variable mortgage. And many people do this, in fact, because the rates are cheaper. So obviously, they have an opportunity to get a cheaper price. And if they believe that rates will continue to decline, well, it seems like a no-brainer to them. The trouble is that once interest rates rise from historically low levels, people will not be able to make their monthly payments. Look at what is going to happen all around you. Most people recently, in the last few years, have been taking these variable mortgages. This is going to be very scary. And then you look at the GDP Now statistics brought to you by the Atlanta Fed. I've covered this for the past few quarters as we look at this and understand that this is not the, everything you need to look at. Whether it's the real GDP or you get the GDP Now stats, doesn't necessarily matter. What I'm trying to say is that it's worse than every prediction they ever make. They say it's going to grow at 2%. Don't count that at all. It's going to grow in their numbers, let's say 1.5% or 1%. And then when they say it's going to grow at 1%, it goes 0.5 or 0%. It's always worse than what they predict. And time after time again, we see that being proven true. Last but not least, weekly earnings of production and non-supervisory employees year over year change. All I wanted to note from this is that we have a declining workforce. Every single year, over year, for the past few decades, in fact, there are less people working than there were the previous year. A trend that cannot be good for the US. Now, if you look at it, a lot of countries are in the same situation. This is absolutely not all about the US, I assure you. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, then you'll definitely want to check out my book. If you go over to Amazon, they have this look inside feature. It allows you to flip through the pages of the book to see if you like it for yourself. Take care.